1. What is the name of the Constitution of India? Answer: the Constitution of India. 2. Who is known as the father of the Indian Constitution? Answer: Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. 3. When was the Indian Constitution adopted? Answer: the 26th of November 1949. 4. What is the length of the Indian Constitution? Answer: the Indian Constitution is the longest written constitution of any sovereign country in the world. 5. How many parts does the Indian Constitution have? Answer: 22. 6. How many articles does the Indian Constitution have? Answer: 444. 7. What is the official language of the Indian Constitution? Answer: Hindi and English. 8. What is the Preamble of the Indian Constitution? Answer: the Preamble of the Indian Constitution is a brief introductory statement that encapsulates the Constitution's fundamental principles and values. 9. What is the significance of the Preamble? Answer: the Preamble is considered to be an important part of the Constitution as it lays down the basic principles and ideals on which the Constitution is based, such as justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. It also states that the Constitution is established to secure certain inalienable rights to all citizens and to promote the welfare of all people. 10. What are the fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution? Answer: the fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution are a set of individual rights that are considered essential for the protection of personal liberty and the pursuit of happiness. They include the right to equality, the right to freedom of speech and expression, the right to freedom of religion, the right to life and personal liberty, the right to education, and the right to constitutional remedies. 11. What are the fundamental duties in the Indian Constitution? Answer: the fundamental duties in the Indian Constitution are a set of moral obligations that citizens of India owe to their country. They include the duty to respect the national flag, the duty to respect the national anthem, the duty to protect and improve the natural environment, the duty to develop scientific temper, and the duty to safeguard public property. 12. What is the directive principles of state policy in the Indian Constitution? Answer: the directive principles of state policy in the Indian Constitution are a set of guidelines for the government to follow in order to establish a just and equitable society. They include the state's duty to provide free and compulsory education, the state's duty to promote and protect the welfare of the people, the state's duty to ensure a living wage, the state's duty to provide for the health and strength of workers, and the state's duty to promote the interests of the weaker sections of society. 13. What is the emergency provisions in the Indian Constitution? Answer: the emergency provisions in the Indian Constitution are a set of provisions that allow the President of India to declare a state of emergency in the country under certain circumstances. These include a national emergency, a state emergency, and a financial emergency. 14. What is the right to property in the Indian Constitution? Answer: the right to property was a fundamental right under the Indian Constitution until 1978, when it was removed from the list of fundamental rights and made a constitutional right instead. It guarantees the right of citizens to acquire, hold and dispose of property, and also places restrictions on the government's ability to acquire and alienate property. 15. What are the schedules in the Indian Constitution? Answer: the schedules in the Indian Constitution are lists and tables that supplement the main text of the Constitution. They include the Union List, the State List, and the Concurrent List, which define the powers of the central government and state governments, respectively. It also includes the procedure for the amendment of the Constitution and the rules and procedures for the functioning of the Constitution. 16. What is the procedure for amending the Indian Constitution? Answer: the procedure for amending the Indian Constitution is laid out in Article 368 of the Constitution. It requires a bill to be passed by both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha by a majority of the total membership of each house and by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting in each house. After the bill is passed by the two houses, it must be ratified by the majority of the state legislative assemblies before it can become an amendment to the Constitution. 17. What is the role of the President of India in the Constitution? Answer. The President of India is the head of state and first citizen of India, as per the Constitution of India. He acts as the ceremonial figurehead while the real power is vested in the Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. The President has certain powers such as appointing the Prime Minister, appointing the judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts, appointing as and ambassadors, and appointing members of the Union Public Service Commission and the Election Commission. 18. What is the role of the Vice President of India in the Constitution? Answer. The Vice President of India is the second highest constitutional office in the country. The primary role of the Vice President is to act as the President in case of the latter's death, resignation, or removal from office. The Vice President also serves as the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha, the upper house of the Indian Parliament. 19. What is the role of the Prime Minister of India in the Constitution? Answer. The Prime Minister of India is the head of government and leader of the executive branch of the Government of India. He is appointed by the President and is the leader of the party or coalition that has a majority in the Lok Sabha, the lower house of the Indian Parliament. The Prime Minister is responsible for the overall direction and administration of the government and for formulating and implementing government policies. 20. What is the role of the judiciary in the Indian Constitution? Answer. The judiciary in India, as per the Constitution, is an independent and impartial institution responsible for interpreting and enforcing the law. The judiciary is headed by the Chief Justice of India and comprises the Supreme Court and the High Courts. The judiciary has the power of judicial review, which allows it to examine the constitutionality of laws and government actions. 21. What is the role of the state in the Indian Constitution? Answer. The Indian Constitution defines the role of the state as the entity that has the power to make and enforce laws within the geographical boundaries of the country. The state is divided into different levels, such as the union government, state governments, and union territories. The state is responsible for providing public goods and services, maintaining law and order, and promoting the welfare of its citizens. 22. What is the role of the Union in the Indian Constitution? Answer. The Indian Constitution defines the Union as the central government of India, consisting of the President, the Vice President, and the Council of Ministers. The Union is responsible for making laws on the subjects enumerated in the Union list, such as defense, foreign affairs, and communications. The Union also has the power to make laws on enumerated in the concurrent list, such as education and forests, if the laws made by the state governments on these subjects are found to be inconsistent with the laws made by the Union government. 23. What is the role of the Council of Ministers in the Indian Constitution? Answer. The Council of Ministers is the highest executive body of the Indian government and is headed by the Prime Minister. The Constitution does not define the composition of the Council of Ministers. However, the Prime Minister is responsible for appointing the members of the Council and can also dismiss them as per his discretion. The Council of Ministers is responsible for formulating and implementing government policies and for running the day-to-day administration of the country. 24. What is the role of the Parliament in the Indian Constitution? Answer. The Parliament of India is the supreme legislative body of the country and is made up of the President and two houses, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. The Parliament has the power to make laws on the subjects enumerated in the Constitution. The Parliament also has the power to approve the budget and to remove the President, the Vice President, and the judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts through impeachment. 25. What is the role of the Union Public Service Commission in the Indian Constitution? Answer. The Union Public Service Commission, UPSC, is a constitutional body responsible for conducting recruitment and appointments to the All India Services, Central Services, and other posts under the Union government. The UPSC also conducts the prestigious Civil Services Examination to recruit candidates for the Indian Administrative Service, IAS, Indian Police Service, IPS, and Indian Forest Service, IFOS, among others. 26. What is the role of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India in the Indian Constitution? Answer. The Comptroller and Auditor General of India, CAG, is an independent constitutional body responsible for auditing the accounts of the central and state governments and their agencies. The CAG has the power to examine, audit and report on the receipts and expenditure of the government, and to comment on financial transactions that are irregular, unnecessary or extravagant. 27. What is the role of the Election Commission of India in the Indian Constitution? Answer. The Election Commission of India, ECI, is an independent constitutional body responsible for administering and conducting free and fair elections to the office of the President, Vice President, and to the office of the members of the Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha and of the legislative assemblies of each state, and the offices of the members of the panchayats and municipalities. The ECI also has the power to register political parties, and to deregister them if they violate the provisions of the Representation of the People Act. 28. What is the role of the National Human Rights Commission in the Indian Constitution? Answer. The National Human Rights Commission, NHRC, is an independent constitutional body responsible for protecting and promoting human rights in India. It has the power to investigate complaints of human rights violations, to visit and inspect detention centers and prisons, and to recommend compensation to the victims of human rights violations. 29. What is the role of the Press Council of India in the Indian Constitution? Answer. The Press Council of India, PCI, is a statutory body responsible for maintaining the freedom of the press and for ensuring that the press maintains high standards of professional conduct. The PCI has the power to hear complaints against the press, to conduct investigations, and to impose penalties on newspapers and journalists found guilty of violating the norms of journalistic conduct. 30. What is the role of the Public Service Commission in the Indian Constitution? Answer. The Public Service Commission, PSC, is a constitutional body responsible for conducting recruitment and appointments to the civil services of the state government. The PSC has the power to conduct examinations and interviews, to prepare lists of eligible candidates, and to make recommendations for appointments to the state government.